What is up, everybody? You know I always start this show off by showing love to the companies who help make this show possible. Guys, first is my friends over at COMPANYCAM. I always say this. I get it. A lot of you are not business owners. You don't have the possibility to make some of these decisions, but it's something you should bring up to your manager or your owner because COMPANYCAM is absolutely amazing. It is an add-on for almost every CRM there is out there. So whether you're using House Call Pro, Service Titan, Sarah, Jobber, whatever it is, I'm almost positive that COMPANYCAM can be added onto it. I always say it is the photo, video, documentation, organizes everything for your customers in a way that nobody else can do it because that's what they do. This helps you get your awesome work out into your SEO, the way it just makes it all available and people search for pictures and you can pick the ones that are available. COMPANYCAM is amazing. I love it. I was sick and tired of going through my photo roll and, you know, all I had was pictures of fucking furnaces and nomenclature that I forgot to, erase. And you get so busy at work, you just, bam, you take pictures, you upload them or do whatever, and then you forget. Here, I don't have that. When I go in there and I'm trying to find pictures of my wife or my kids or something like that, that's what I see because all of my work pictures and videos are in a specific place exactly for work, and they're organized, timestamps. All that stuff is there. When we have to go back to a particular job, it says who took them, when they took them, the timestamp, the geotag. It's amazing. It is absolutely amazing. And they do so many things now that I am trying to catch up because they are growing and adding so many features where you can talk to customers, talk to other people. Hey, I saw you took this picture. Now I see this. What happened? Like, you communicate inside of it. It is really, really, really awesome. So, guys, if COMPANYCAM is something that you are interested in, you can go to www.companycam.com/HVAC Uncensored. You can get a 14-day free trial, no credit card, no nothing. Try it out. See if you like it. And then if you do, they will give you 50% off your first 2 months. All right? I think it's worth a try. You guys should if you're not the business owner, the manager, you should let your boss know it's something at least they should check out. Next is gonna be, you guys, you know it's gonna be. I talk about them every week, and I have to, and I don't know why this is taking so long. Is my friends over at BLUON. Guys, there's gonna be actually 2 podcasts dropping tomorrow. Some goofy stuff this week as far as audio podcasts. There's gonna be one special, shorter one with BLUON, and then there's going to be the podcast from last week. Audio will be out tomorrow. But all kind of thing behind the scenes happening with BLUON, man, and like I always said this, yes, BLUON is a sponsor. Yes, they pay me every month. But as a lot of you saw, when they opened up and people could buy into the company, I was the #1 donor into their company. I put $10,000 of my own money into this because I believe in this place. I believe in the people, and I believe in what they're trying to do for the industry. And I tell all of you, man, I get it. Some of you are in different aspects in your career. Maybe some of you really need the tech support part. Maybe some of you at your company, you can't really do the parts ordering because it's not up to you. You don't have the ability to do that. Maybe some of you need the manual. Some of you don't. But what I'm trying to say is by having BLUON downloaded on your phone, it is only going to be a positive resource for you at some time. Maybe some of you use it once, twice a week. Maybe some of you use it once, twice a month, once, twice a year, but it's going to be there when you need it to help you get out of a jam. That's what I'm trying to say. So I highly advise that all of you download the BLUON app. Plus, you need to be a BLUON member, whether you're actively using it or not, in order to win the veto bag I have sitting behind me. With that being said, guys, BLUON upgrading the HVAC industry. Let's get on with this pledge. Got a great show for you tonight. Let's go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless the United States, and thank you to all those men and women who defend it.
Welcome to the #1 rated HVAC podcast. If you're looking to grow in the HVAC industry, then you're in the right spot. Blue collar people talking about blue collar shit. Let's get better together. So turn up the volume, buckle your seatbelt, and let's welcome your host, Gil KV Jr.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the HVAC Uncensored Podcast. I'm your host, Gil KV Jr. Here we are, another Wednesday, another hump day, and another great show for you. I hope everybody's having an amazing week so far. Things are good, man. Just so you guys know a few things, the audio podcast, it's been goofy. It's not even worth saying because it's just been so retarded. But 2 episodes will be out tomorrow. It's going to be one full episode. And then I have some, stay on the look. You'll see some BLUON special episodes that aren't aired live, but you will see the video and the audio come out after the fact. And the first episode of that will be out tomorrow as well. So stay on the look for that. Guys, a really good show tonight, man. I have to grab something if I can find it. But anyway, a great show tonight, man. And you guys know I've been doing a little bit different here lately where it's been like, it seems like it's going to be for business owners, but we're able to tie it into text because I get it that a lot of you are watching, you know, especially to come live. You're technicians, you're not business owners. So I want this to be able to help a little bit of everybody. One of the biggest emails that I get throughout the year, I mean, I'm talking a couple thousand emails, is people saying they want to start their own business. You guys know me. I am always honest. I will give them the pros. I will give them the cons. Not to scare them, but just to give them the raw information so that they know both sides of it. And if they still decide to do it, by all means. And I want them to. But I try to be as honest as I possibly can. Tonight, I think we're going to be able to cover a lot of things that people don't realize when it comes into that whole financial side. So rather than me sitting here running my mouth, we have an amazing guest tonight. Mr. Timothy Wingate does this for a living, the whole financial consulting sector, and literally does it to help trade service businesses. So guys, please put your hands together and help me welcome Mr. Timothy. What's up, man?
How's it going?
Good, buddy. Had some button issues over here, man. Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. I know doing these things 8, 9 o'clock at night sometimes can be a little awkward when you've been working all day. So I appreciate you taking the time to come on with me.
No problem at all, man. Enjoying it. I'm glad to be here. Hope I can give some value to your listeners.
Yeah. No, I know you definitely will, my man. So I guess before we get into any particular topic, if you want to let everybody know just a little about, you know, who Tim is, what your background is, and a little bit about you.
Yeah. So first and foremost, man, I'm a family man. You know, I'm a God-fearing man, and so definitely my family comes first. This is the reason why I do what I do, and also I have a special love for the construction industry in general, you know, with all the trades, because my father, he's been a general contractor since 1984. So all my life, I've been working out there in the field. So I had my fair share of getting dirty, you know, being hot in Florida heat. And so it's a different land out there in the summer. Yeah. So just have a heart. And, you know, I'm an accountant by trade, and I'm just 100% focused on the construction industry, looking to help them in all the ways that I can. So I have HVAC guys, I have plumbing guys, electricians, you know, tile guys. So yeah, so I'm just here just to give you guys some insight from my, you know, my vantage point, you know, here as a financial advisor to these different business owners.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So you were like, hey, I like the trades, but I'm going to help you off from the air condition. All right.
Yeah. Exactly.
I want to stay over here, but I'm here for you if you need me.
Exactly.
I don't blame you. As an HVAC guy, normally if we're there, the AC don't work.
Oh, no.
So I guess to try to do this through a progression, I guess what are some of the biggest problems that you see, regardless of industry? It doesn't really matter, even though it's HVAC podcast. Like,
Yeah.
what are some of the biggest issues that you see yourself having to face when you're coming with new companies? Is there something that keeps popping up, or is it kind of all over the board?
A lot of it, man, it really just starts off with like, I know it sounds crazy coming from an accountant, but they don't have any vision or goals. And that's where your money is tied to. Your money is tied to where you see your company. Like, where is it going? Because if you don't know where it's going, then we don't know what size projects to go after. We don't know if we're making enough margins to keep the business running. You don't know, do we even have enough capital to go after certain contracts, you know what I mean, when we start the business. So you got to have vision and you got to have goals laid out first, for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And, one thing that we've done at Beltway, and it's funny, a friend of mine, Zeke, is in here today. And sometimes we'll see what we want to do, and then we'll try to reverse engineer it to see what we have to do to get there.
Yeah.
And we'll make, say, a marketing plan, and the idea seems great, but guess what? It doesn't work. Maybe it worked for friends, but you don't know until you try. We keep plugging. You can't give up. You can't just stop. You got to keep going. And I feel like some people are afraid to take those risks because they kind of get in a little comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing when it comes to finances, which we've talked about on here a million times, is people don't charge accordingly. They don't charge enough money, especially the smaller guys. They run around all year thinking they're making all this money until they look in the bank and they're like, they pay their bills and they're like, shit, there's nothing left for me. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
you got to charge accordingly for your services and take in all those, paying you, the lights,
Yeah.
all these other things into effect when you're doing your pricing.
Yeah. So a lot of that starts with like, before we start the company, do I have enough capital to take care of all those things? Like what you mentioned, marketing, an accountant, maybe even a construction law attorney. All these different things needs to be considered before even starting the company, because most companies fail before they even start. And the reason why is because they don't have enough capital to keep it going. Because you're going to have those times, especially if you get into the commercial jobs, there's so much of a delay in when you're going to get paid, and you need to have certain, money started up front for mobilization, getting the project running, and to be able to carry those 30 days or 45 days in some cases. And if you get a really bad,
60,
GC to
90.
work for, 60, 90
Yeah,
days.
they suck.
Yeah. So you really just got to have a strong sense of like where you're going and how much money is needed to get there. And so that way, when it's communicated to a person like me, I now know what to do with it. I can say, okay, so now you need to go after the projects this side. Now you need to bid this many projects and you need to close this certain percentage of those bids. So that way we can keep things moving, make sure cash flow is constantly moving. And then, sometimes they don't listen on this part, but please don't take out a loan in the beginning when you don't know where the money is coming from. Go get a line of credit when you don't know where the money is coming from, because then that kills your business quickly, very quickly. Yep.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the other thing is, I hear a lot of people when they first start their business, which I was talking to you about off air, is they don't keep tight books. They don't have somebody doing the proper accounting. Oh, I let my wife do it. Well, what does your wife know about accounting? Has she ever, you know what I mean? Has she ever done it? And guys, all of a sudden, they're barely they're just surviving, and then they, IRS comes and says, hey, you owe me 150 grand. And you don't tell the IRS, well, hey, I don't have it. They don't give a shit. They want their money.
Yeah.
I mean, have you seen that a lot?
Definitely seen it a lot. Most construction guys, even not even construction guys, but just businesses in general, they want someone in the accounting space who they trust. So that's number one. It's like, hey, I trust my wife, or I trust, you know what I mean, my mom or whoever who's good with money, who's good with managing budgets and all those type of things. They put those people in that seat. And in construction, it's a very specialized type of accounting. That's why they have construction accounting. And a lot of people don't know that, because you have three specialized types of accounting. That's nonprofit accounting, manufacturing accounting, and then you have construction accounting. Because the way you account for the money is totally different, because you have to do job cost accounting. And with job cost accounting, you may have a small project over here that's 15,000. You may have a larger project over here that's $1 million, and then you may have this middle project that's like $500,000. And you got to keep up with how the money is moving on each project, and making sure that the schedule is moving on time, so that way you can bill on time, and to keep cash flow moving in the right, speed, and to keep you afloat. And that's really hard to do when you have three totally different types of projects going on at the same time with totally different time schedules. It's not like a brick and mortar shop where it's just, hey, how many products did we sell today? We sold 5. Oh, okay, we know that we need to sell 10 tomorrow. No, it's not. It's not that. On a construction site, hey, did that trade come in and finish this part today? Because we need them to finish today, because we got this other trade coming right in behind them, and we need them to finish so we can get this. So it's just a lot of things to consider, because all those things, all those bottlenecks, have an effect on your money, on your bottom line. And if you don't get it right, I mean, you quickly find yourself underwater.
Yeah, and I agree with knowing how to bill and when to bill. Residential stuff is kind of simple. We go do a HVAC system for somebody, and normally it's a third down and the rest the day. But you're talking in the residential, even for the really high end units, you're talking 25, 30 grand, and that's really high. That's not that often, but when you got $1 million like this, and you got a project that say takes a year, it's like, hey, we're gonna get the foundation in, and then we're gonna bill. We're gonna get it closed in, and then we're gonna bill again. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that way that you're not having to use credit or racking up other bills, because especially if you're the GC, a lot of times you're having to do the same thing to other contractors. You're having to pay them a little bit of money, so you got to make sure that you have it coming in, and the billing and keeping up with that is huge. And then the other part would just be, getting the materials that you need in a timely fashion. Because I know when I was doing some big commercial jobs, and not even necessarily just what we were doing, just seeing the GCs we were working with, and going through the whole process and not being able to get stuff. And that job stops because you can't move any further because that stuff doesn't come. Well, guess what? We can't do what we have to do. We're not getting paid.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And you don't plan for that. You plan like, oh man, we're gonna get to this point at the end of the month. We got a $25,000 check coming. Like, woohoo, yeah. All of a sudden they're like, oh hey, you guys gotta wait because the cement truck didn't show up. Okay, call me. All of a sudden, a month from now, oh hey, you guys can come back. Well, shit, Yeah,
happens all the time. Happens all the time, man. And if you're not good with managing money from the get, like, you may be the top of the line HVAC guy, top of the line electrician, but if you're not good at managing money and discipline to check on those things daily, how progress reports, or your daily logs, your to-dos, what's been completed, what has not been completed, what needs to be completed so we can actually take the next draw. Just really being on top of your paperwork. You just find yourself in a tight spot, and then you get stressed out. So now that's affecting your family life, that's affecting your work week. It's just affecting everything, and it's just really hard to climb out of that. Like, I have a guy who took out loans, bought equipment, did all these, grand things because they had this big contract signed, but the job didn't start until 90 days later. So here you go. You got all this big, big cat equipment. They got a $6,000 payment due every month. And then here you got employees who've been, you hired like crazy because you got this big contract. You're excited. It's the first, big $1.2 million contract. Hey, let's get the rolling. But there's all this stuff that happens that just never gets the job started. Permitting issues, issues with the owner not, getting certain things done on their side, and
Spend
it's just
money before he gets it.
yeah. and so you thought you were setting yourself up right by taking out a loan and say, hey, I'm gonna beef up so that way I can perform the job at a high level, make sure that I knock it out the park. But the job don't start 90 days later. Now who's left with all that, all those bills? Who's left with all that cost? And then now when you actually start the job, I mean, you're just working to pay off debt at that point. You're not even working to be profitable.
Yep. It's like running on a treadmill. You're running in place. You're not actually covering any ground. I always say that. No, and I see a lot when it comes, especially with commercial industrial companies or big general contractors, is getting started is the hardest part, because once you're in a rhythm and you got a few contracts under your belt, you got paid from this guy, so every month, normally you should be getting some kind of payment from one job or the other, depending on how big you are. But what happens is, at least in the air conditioning refrigeration world, is people will have like a series of Walmarts, Costco's, they'll sign a contract, they'll hire all these guys and they'll get them. And all of a sudden a year passes or however long that contract was, and they don't get the contract again. And all of a sudden it's like, hey guys, a massive layoff or all this stuff. And I've seen it because, that happens as well. Now, some huge contract you thought you had, you don't have anymore, So it's getting going, and then you got to maintain as well. And sometimes it's easier said than done.
Yeah, I've seen even some guys who love their team so much, don't want to lose them during that time, and say, I'm gonna keep them anyways and keep them paid, but they'll pay them and they stop paying the IRS. So now they're in IRS trouble because you want to keep these guys on because you don't want to lose your good workers. You know who can get things done and knock them out. You know who can really go and just kill that job for you. But you just made a bad business decision to keep them on and not pay the IRS. Yeah. Have a contractor right now who owes $500,000 to the IRS. Payroll taxes. Payroll taxes is considered trust fund money. So when you don't pay that, you have a different type of IRS officer coming at you. You have one who coming at you with handcuffs.
It's like Men in Black type stuff.
Yeah. and they get real serious about that, and you can do some jail time for it. You can be ended up doing 3 to 5 years just because you didn't pay payroll tax, because they feel that you were stealing from the government, because it's called trust fund money.
Yeah, and it may have been a good deed, but you don't realize something like that happens and you go to jail. There's no company to protect. You weren't really protecting anything. So
exactly.
That's why sometimes you can't make business decisions with your heart. I know it's hard. They say you capture the heart, the mind will follow. But sometimes in those situations, you can't make that decision with your heart, because it's going to get you in trouble. It's and I tell people, business, like being a business owner is not fun. Like it's not what people like. Yes, you get benefits, and I'm not going to say that you don't, but it's not easy, and it's not all sunshines and rainbows. It's not just sitting back going, oh man, counting your money on your boat. That's just not how it works. And if somebody is at that point, they've put in enough work to get there. They've
Yeah.
automated their business in a way that it can run without them there. But they've put in the work to sit back and do that. But that's not normally how it works. Let, let me ask you this. Say somebody hears you on this podcast. They call you and say, hey, Tim, I'm an HVAC guy. I'm getting ready to start my own company. What should I do? How would you guide them into taking the next steps? Saying that, like, as far as they got some side work, some tools, some licensing, and all that kind of stuff. Barring all that stuff is good, what would be your advice for them to move forward?
Do you have enough money to start? What do you think is enough money to start? They'll tell me. Then we're going to go through the math and talk about vision and goals. And does those things match up? Because I'll quickly tell them, hey, you don't have enough money to start. You need to still save up some more money. Or you need to have a family friend or a relative to invest in you, whatever it is, but keep your day job, save some more money, and then come back and we'll be ready to start. So that's first number one. But let's say they have all that together. So now you have enough money to start. It's clear. Now you have to figure out, how are you going to get the client? What do you need to do to get the client? Your marketing has to be figured out before anything else. So if you don't have your marketing figured out, you could be the best tradesman in the world, but you don't have a platform or some type of system of how to acquire a client, they will never know that you're that good.
Yeah.
And you will never keep, like what I'm doing right now, being on the podcast. That's part of marketing, because people know, I know that people are going to see me on here, get to hear me and experience me in a way that's much different than if they just picked up a phone and start talking to me.
Yeah.
Now you get to see how I think, how I process information. And I know that the people that I want to work with are on the other side of the screen. And so I already had that figured out. So this is why I spend dollars and money finding ways to get on podcasts, and so that's part of the marketing dollars that are spent from my company. Now, when you think about other companies, do you want to do Facebook ads? Do you want to do Google ads? Do you want to do go speak at places? Do you even want to go educate? What I like to do, I like to educate. So that's why I'm here. So educating is what's natural to me. I saw the success from it and know that I get good quality clients from it, because I don't want junk prospects either. So you want
Fire
people who, you want to know who that person is that you want to do work for. And most people in this industry want to do work for people who respect their time and who pay on time.
Damn right.
So that's it. Respect my time and pay on time. We're good, and then value the work that I bring. If you want me to give you a 5-star HVAC, installation, then I hope you know that comes at a different ticket price, and it may be that I only do 5-star HVAC installation. So I may have to say no to the person who want the 3-star.
Yep.
Because, hey, when I go out, my name is on that work. The way I do it is unlike how anyone else approaches it. So I want to make sure that I'm always giving 5-star, because I'm trying to create a brand. When people know that I come to do this work, that's the brand that follows. That's what people want, because it lasts a long time. My installation not breaking down. They're not calling me back to do warranty work, and all these other type of things. Like I don't want callbacks. I don't get callbacks. That may be your marketing thing. I don't get callbacks.
Yeah. Or when, warranty, anything that's manufactured has warranty. But
Yeah.
when you call for warranty, we actually answer the phone. Like
Yeah.
those kind of things is a
Yeah.
big deal. And you tell people that we do quality over quantity. So
Hmm.
not. But then there's some business model that they do a good job, but not a great job. But they do
Right.
a budget and they just do it on surplus. Hey, if that's your
Yeah.
business model, that's fine. Um,
Yep.
just know what your business model is, because
Yep.
you know what I mean? If and I get it when you start out, especially in HVAC, like you can't, even though you may have quality in mind, you can't charge what the big guys are doing.
Yeah.
So you may be a little bit cheaper just to get your name out there so that
Yeah.
people are giving you work. As you build a reputation, you start getting other employees, because in the beginning they know you. Hey, you're the owner, you're doing the work. Hey, I know Gil, I know Dave, or whatever. Then you got to find somebody that can do the same kind of work that you do, the same quality
But
that
I,
you
but
do.
I want to interject there, because one thing that I always tell my clients, like, I want you to get paid what you're worth. So I want the mindset to be, I'm only less expensive than the other guy is because I don't have as much overhead.
Oh, I agree 100%.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
don't have, so my pricing, you know what I mean, my markups are the same as his, but because I don't have as much overhead, I can make the same profit margin that he makes, but he needs $1 million project to make the profit margin that I can make on 50,000, and it's only because I only have two guys,
Yeah.
but he has a fleet,
Yeah, a
so
$50,000 a month marketing
yeah,
budget this guy has.
right.
Yeah, no. So I agree 100%. But to the
Yeah,
customer,
yeah,
you're going to come off a little bit cheaper, and you may win
absolutely.
deals because your price is less. Once your name
Yeah,
gets out there, now all of a sudden, you got to start raising those margins because you start
yeah.
adding pieces, adding
Hmm.
pieces to the car. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy how that works. We went through that. When I look at some installs and stuff we did 6 years ago, and I look at it for $6,000, and I'm like we gave it away, And then nowadays, our average install is like 14.5.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, boy, how times have changed. Um,
Times have changed.
but I think a lot of it is also that people just need to be educated, to have a conversation with like you um, before they do make these kind of decisions. Because so many people, they jump into it. And I always say
Hmm.
that the tax laws were created for entrepreneurs, in my
Hmm.
opinion. It's for
It is.
business owners. It's not for 9 to 5 employees. So I get it. Not everybody can be a boss. Not everybody can be an owner. But if you
Right.
have that drive in you, by all means, take that risk. I tell everybody that. But just know 80% fail. You know what I mean? I don't know what the number is, but a strong percentage fail, but you're never going to know until you try. And if it succeeds, hey, you're one of that small few that you're a blue collar business owner. You know what I mean? Like it's I feel like social media, especially social media now, at least in some of the HVAC groups, is you hear these guys, I started a company, man. We're doing 10 million in revenue. Fucking life is great, sunshine and rainbows. But the 15 other guys who tried to do it and failed, they don't post about that because,
Right.
they don't want you to know they failed. So that's why I just want people to know the truth. I want them to do it, but just be in reality. You know what I mean? Be
Mhm.
realistic.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we all want that ideal mentor, or I should say person we admire out there who's doing a great job. We want that life, because that's what we're really working towards. We're working towards a certain lifestyle. We're trying to create a certain lifestyle for ourselves. Like, hey, I want to be home, by a certain time at night every day. I want to be able to take 2-month vacations overseas with my family. So when we start to think about those things, that's how we come up with the vision and goals. That's how we come up with how much profit we need, you know, um, and how much money we need to bring in every month to live that lifestyle. And that's what determines a lot. I mean, as you're making decisions on who to hire, on what sectors of the industry you want to go into. So it's just different things that you need to consider when you're thinking about starting a company. It's not just one thing. It's not just about getting a job done. It's about what are we really doing, working towards? What processes and systems do I need to set up? What technology that I need to have? Do like you talked about BLUON and all these other different things. Like what do I need to get a subscription with that? Do I need to do have these type of things? All those things need to be considered before you say, hey, we're open and we're ready for business, because stuff needs to be worked out and set up, because now you're going to price your jobs based on, hey, I got to pay BLUON, I got to pay the for these HVAC parts, I got to pay for marketing over here, accounting over here. So all that stuff has already been considered, and now you come up with a pricing model that's going to work for your company.
Yeah.
That's how we got to develop it.
And I tell people that really in the beginning, and obviously I speak about the HVAC world because that's what I know, is you're probably going to make less money than what you made for somebody else. Not drastic, but you're probably going to make less, because a lot of your profit, you should put it back into the company.
Yes.
Be putting it back in, get that foundation really, really strong, and you'll make it tenfold, a couple of years down the road if you make those sacrifices in the beginning. But I tell people, before you even open the door, everybody's like, I got a logo, I got a van, some tools, let's rock and roll. I'm like, okay. Now that you're leaving your job, how's your family getting their health insurance? Does your spouse get it? Can you get health insurance for you and your family through there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you don't get paid this week, how's they going to get food on the table? Like, I always say people lie, numbers don't. So you got to have all these things down and have all these different scenarios to prepare yourself. I get it. Unexpected things are going to happen, and you got to roll with the punches, but some kind of game plan that, you get to that, I'm trying to think. So, like the small goals, medium-sized goals, and big ones, and then keep setting those goals, trying to meet them. Because I know it's daunting, but I think a lot of the people that I've seen put a lot of preparation in before they do it have been very successful. And there's some of them I've literally seen throw shit against the wall, and it stuck and it worked, but they got lucky. So many things fell into place, and that's not a repeatable. I would never advise to tell somebody to do that, because your failure rate is going to be way higher just because they did it. I would go the other route.
Absolutely. I mean, you said something very key in the beginning there. You need to be reinvesting the profits back into the business. Everybody wants to eat fat from day one. You want to go out and finally get that, Ford F-150 souped up, the way you want it, jacked up and everything from day one. You want to look like, hey, you done made it. You arrived. It's not the time. Year 1, year 2, year 3, it's reinvesting back into the business. Hey, now that I have some extra cash, now I can bring that extra guy on now to help me out. Now, instead of doing, 3 HVAC jobs a month, I can do 6. So thus, that's kind of how you need to be thinking and planning out. But that requires you thinking strategically about your business, and what I say, not robbing your business, because a lot of people rob the business, take too much money home, and now when the business starts to suffer, it has nothing in the savings account to help it get through the tough times. So now what? As a business owner, you're trying to dig in your pockets, if you have it there, if you haven't spent it on a vacation to Las Vegas, with your wife, now you got to what? Get a loan or get a line of credit, trying to make up for what you have taken from the business and absorbed.
Yeah. Robbing Peter to pay Paul is what I always say.
Yeah.
And in the trades, for the most part, everybody made it out of COVID good, because we ended up staying in business. Once you got past that initial push, people still needed the services. Yeah, you had to go through the mask, the gloves, and walk in like this. But the ones who failed were the ones who didn't have like that little bit of slow time. They didn't have the funds in the bank to get through it.
Nope.
Those are the ones that closed because they had no buffer zone. You
Exactly.
know, I try to tell guys, especially like in like profit margins, you know, you got to be at least above 6% because otherwise then you have no cash flow. People used to say 10 to 15, but really you should be 20, 25% if that way you can have a decent culture, put money back into your business, and then everybody can make a decent wage. If those
Absolutely.
margins are thin, you're surviving. You're not thriving, and sadly,
Yeah.
that's the way it is.
Yeah. And again, that goes all the way back from goal setting, all the way back to goal setting and saying, hey, how big do I want to get? What type of benefits package I want to offer my guys? Do I want to just pay them the hourly wage and say, hey, you just better be thankful that I just gave you an hourly wage?
Mhm.
Or do I want to give them health insurance, a 401k, um, maybe even what do you call it? Maternity leave, when they have a baby and they can be at home with it. Because how many construction guys can have a baby and be home with them for a month?
Yeah.
You know, that's, I haven't seen too many companies, construction companies in particular, who can say that.
No, and to be in this, one thing until I started running a business, one thing that I like you take advantage of when you work for somebody else is just paid holidays. They're
Yeah.
expensive. As a
Yeah, they
business
are.
owner, when they're like, "Hey, am I getting paid for Christmas?" Hell no, you ain't get. I'll give you off, but you ain't getting paid. Like you don't realize,
Yeah.
how much money goes out for those paid holidays, and it's not that you don't want to, but that's expensive. So you have everybody that works for you getting paid 8 hours for that day, but you have no income coming in. So you have to build up to get to that point, and
Yeah.
build up to get into 401k. Like we did all that. Like
Yeah.
now we pay all the major holidays, but in the beginning it was like, hey, we'll do, Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving, and I forget the like Easter or not Easter, that's Sunday. And we
Hmm.
started slowly adding in like July 4th, more Memorial Day. But we were
Right.
honest with people. We were like, hey, like we just can't afford to do it. Now it's big enough, make enough revenue that that's not a problem. But I never thought about that. And I was like, man, those
Yeah.
I think about holidays on a whole different scale now. Like, man, they
Yeah.
cost a lot of money. Like, I wake up, my stomach hurts, my butt hurts a little bit. I'm like, I don't know if I should be at work today.
Right. Yeah. A lot of guys don't consider holidays or paid holidays as a benefit. They, especially if you're in the employee seat, you think it's, hey, this should be normal. Like a company, that's not a benefit. That's not something that I come to work for you so that way I can get paid on holidays. No, but it is a true benefit from an employer seat. And you have to know that because that now gets factored in what we call the labor burden rate. So now I hired you at $30 an hour, but now because I'm going to pay you for 8 holidays out of the year, that $30 an hour has now turned into $35 an hour. So now that's really the true rate that I'm paying you. It's
Yeah.
$35 an hour because I give you 8 holidays throughout the year.
Yeah, and then you
So
add on the health insurance, That's why a
health
lot of
insurance.
places nowadays,
Yeah.
back in the day it was we'll pay 100% of you and then, your family will pay a portion. But now it's like we'll pay 50% of you and you're responsible for your family because it's so expensive. But even
Yeah.
that adds in. So all you guys out there, if you work for a company and say you make $30 an hour, they're probably paying you $40+ an hour when you add up
Absolutely.
the vacation, the sick time, the holidays, the health benefits, the 401k. You cost more per hour than what you're actually taking home. It's it's yeah. Once you learn all that stuff, it's like, man, like this sucks. Why
Yeah.
did I want to be in this position again?
Yeah.
There's a lot to it, and then when you run a business, it's not like you guys where you go to home wondering how you're gonna feed and take care of your family. You go home wondering how you're gonna put food on everybody's table. Hey man,
Everybody's table.
if this guy don't work, I know he's got 4 kids, man. Like this guy's got to work. He's got kids to feed. Well, damn, this guy's got 2 sons. You know what I mean? Like it's if you're a human being, those emotions weigh on you, and it's rough sometimes, you know. But
Yeah,
that's what happens.
that's what happens. That's definitely what happens. And when we start to think like that, then it helps us be better employees, number one. And then it gives us something to think about when it's time to start our own. Because now there's a lot to consider. Like, we didn't even talk about, like, even the insurance that now needs to be,
Workman's
you
comp.
know,
Somebody put
yeah.
plus workman's
Oh,
comp in
okay.
the
Yeah.
comments.
Yes. Yeah. So workers' comp is tacked in there. Then also general liability too, because general liability has a payroll audit report that has to be completed at the end of the year. So all these type of things have to be considered when we are offering someone a certain dollar amount to work for us. And to tack, from an employee seat, you also got to think about when you're asking for that raise, or that's a big deal. Like, hey, I'm already paying, like, I know what you're getting and taking home is $30 an hour, but I'm actually paying you $45 an hour with all these benefits. And now you want that $30 an hour to go up to $35 an hour. That's now sending me up to $50 an hour to, so it's just a lot of things to consider. And that's why it's hard for employers to say, like, man, dude, is this, now I got to think about how this guy is performing.
Yeah.
Are they bringing me enough money to actually pay for this, this increase that they're asking for? If they're not, I may be willing to say, hey, we just can't do it, and take the risk of maybe losing that person because they're not producing what I need them to produce in order to take care of that. Because tenure doesn't determine whether you get a raise. Performance, that's what determines how much money do you bring the company. Are you
just because a year
bringing
passed doesn't mean I owe you?
Yeah.
I gotta pay you more. That's not how this works. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it's like, like some of our guys. Do you have a brand new van? Where do you live? Do I pay more in gas for you because you live 45 minutes away versus a guy who lives 10 minutes? Have you been in 2 accidents this year? So I've paid 2 deductibles. Like, sadly, you got to think about all that. And I tell, like, and we want to give cost of living raises. Like, I get it. I always say $100,000 today is not what it used to be. It's more like $85,000 a year. So we want to give cost of living raises. But when a guy comes in a year and says, hey, Gil, I really like to get more money. My first question is, what do you do now that you didn't do a year ago? And what I try to provide to them is, hey, you've been killing it. I've seen you progress, and amen, you're worth it. Like, I'll give you, the $3 an hour you're asking for. Or I'll say, hey, I think you could do a little bit more, but you've done some. I'll meet you in the middle. You're asking for $3. I'll give you $1.50. Or I'll say, hey, man, like, you haven't really done anything since last year to try to make yourself better. You're just kind of going with the flow. But if you can do X, Y, and Z, if you can do those 3 things and you come back to me, I will give you a raise. So I try to provide an alternative to it rather than just saying, no, go screw yourself, because I think that's never, positive affirmation. Like, that's not going to help anything. But it's definitely not just, hey, another year's passed, boss man, I want you to throw some money at me. That's just that's not realistic.
No, it's not realistic. And let's take it a step further. That's why I say it requires so much vision and goal setting in the beginning, because now, before I even made the decision to hire this person, I already knew what positions that I needed in the company. And I now have already created criteria for them to utilize and say, this is how you win here at this organization. If you hit these milestones every single day or every single week or every single month, then now you're going to win here and you're going to be producing here. And therefore, keep that consistent. The money's going to come, because I already know the money's going to come. Now, those things may change as the company grows, because the milestones I need you to hit when we were a $500,000 company is going to be different when we become a $1 million company. So those things may change, but at least from the beginning, having a set couple of standards of saying that, hey, this is what you need to check off your list to say that you are meeting the mark here at this company. Now they have clear goals in front of them to say, okay, I got to attack this and I'm good to go.
Yeah, no, I agree, because some of those people in that initial meeting, their goal may be to, hey, I want to build the biggest and best company in this area. Like, I want to build a $20 million company. I want to have 100 employees. Maybe that's their goal. But there's other guys like, hey, I want to build a nice small business where it's like me and 5 other guys, like, tops. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want a big company. And that's fine.
Right.
It's all about what you want, because I've seen times where it's been a guy and 2 people out of his garage was making the same amount of profit as when he had 10 people and an office staff, because the bills went up. He had to pay for more. So there were certain progressions you had to get to. But then again, like you said, it's all about your vision, your goal, and what you want. Doesn't mean it can't change. You could say you want a small company and you do things right, and you're like, I wanted a small company and now I got a conglomerate corporation. But it's good. It's good in knowing what you want and starting somewhere, because there's a lot of curveballs, and I think it's good for, even if you're an employee, like a technician or contractor, whatever, to understand the business side of it, of what the owner is going through. And I think that's where, like, for us at Beltway, we are very open and honest, and we let them know what's going on. This is what we're spending money on. This is how the company did this month. Because when you don't have that, and there's like this strong line between the employees and the owner and management, the employees always think that the owner's just sitting back, like I said earlier, just counting his money. When that's normally not the case. I would say 95% of the time, that's not the case. He's not sitting back counting his money. Trust me.
Right. Absolutely. And we always got to keep in mind that that's the, that's what's happening. When I say that's what's happening, meaning that the owners are constantly dealing with the thought of, like, how am I going to pay these guys? Like, how am I going to pay these bills? How are we going to get from this month to last month? Maybe we lost 2 jobs that we thought we had the best bid. Like, is no one going to come and beat this bid? And then somebody's come and scoops it from right up under you, and you was counting on that. You may have talked with the client and say, yeah, you're good to go. We just had to get 3 submittals, but we're going with you. And then all of a sudden it just changes. These things happen all the time. And when you're in that leadership position, that's a very, very tough position to be in, because you always feel like you're by yourself. But when you open yourself up to your team and you start to, now you can't say everything, but you definitely can let them in and say, hey, we didn't hit the goals that we set out to hit last month. And because we didn't do that, it's going to make it tough for us to, get some of these other things accomplished, or maybe it's going to make it tough for us to actually, do that getaway that we want to do at the end of the year for everybody, So, hey, the next 2 months we got to pick it up. Otherwise we'll have to, kind of pull back from doing that trip and try to put that on maybe the first quarter of next year, or second quarter of next year. So those are the type of conversations that you want to have with your team, and just keep making them aware, like, oh, okay, we're in this together. We really have to pull together to make these things happen.
Yeah, like Christmas bonuses. I tell people Christmas bonuses are a plus. They're not a given. You know, there's been sometimes I've gotten some hefty Christmas bonuses. I'm talking, $5-10 grand. Other times I've gotten $50 and saying, I appreciate you. But, and as a tech, when I was back in the day when I was a tech, I'm looking forward to that. Like, oh man, I want my Christmas bonus. I've been here all year. Like, I deserve that money, But then from the other side, you see, and it's like, all right, well, we've just had the 4 worst months we've ever had in business. Like, we don't have it to give, you know,
Right.
and it'll never be nothing, because I think even if it's $100 a card, a pizza, something, just saying, hey guys, we didn't have it this year, but when it comes, I'll make sure that
Yeah.
everybody eats, like something. But that's another thing you got to think about. Like that's, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
because you figure you got, let's just say $500 and you got, 10 employees. I mean, you're talking about a little chunk of change that
Yeah. You are.
is just coming out of there. So that's why when you go through the struggles in the beginning, that's why I always say, enjoy the little moments, enjoy every win, no matter how small you think it may be, because when you get to the point that you think's the normal, that you can give raises, pay Christmas bonuses, buy new vans, have company fun days. We go to uh, Top Golf, and everybody gets paid the whole day while they're there. They get paid
Yeah.
to eat, drink, to be able to do those kind of things, have paid holidays off. Like, I
Yes.
know what it took for us to get there,
Yeah.
you know? So I sit back like, man, this has been a crazy ride, but it's been awesome. You know what I mean?
Has. Yes. For sure, man. For sure.
Yeah, and I'm not even the owner, man. Like I'm just the general manager. But my one of my best friends, Ryan, who owns the company, and I've worked for a lot of other guys that I've learned from, and Ryan is a young guy. Ryan's only like 28, 29 years old. But
Mhm.
when I've seen him, when people thought he was taking all this money, when I knew how much he was actually taking home, and he
Yeah.
wasn't taking home what you thought he would, because he was putting it
Exactly.
back into the business. Um,
Exactly.
and people are like, oh man, he's doing this and he's doing that. And I'm like, no, he's not. He's not doing that.
Nope. Yep.
Like this guy is cutting himself short so that this guy doesn't have to get laid off during this tough time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Or in
Yeah.
the middle of winter when we only have, enough to keep 3 guys busy, we got 2 guys riding together. 6 guys are doing 3 guys calls because he wants to make sure
Mhm.
that all of you get your hours. He's making those sacrifices.
Yeah.
Or you see when they could be greedy. He could say
Mhm.
like, "Oh, I'm taking this. This is mine," and,
Yep.
and they don't. So it just makes you have a whole new respect, especially when I work for people that maybe they were good businessmen, but I knew that they always came first. I
Yeah.
mean, and that's just the truth. Like he was
Yeah.
sticking in his pocket before anybody else got anything in their pocket. Um,
Right.
and it is what it is. But when you see the other side of it, it just has that much more respect for it.
Good job for him, man, for having a guy like you, to be able to defend him when he was unaware that those things are happening. But it's because he had this open book, type of relationship with his leadership team to say, hey, this is how stuff is going for the company. We need to get here. We're currently right now in a tough spot, but hey, just help me get here. Rally the guys. Let's make sure we knock out some of these projects. It's always good to have a person like that on your team, and so that also spins off to say you got to make sure you hire good people.
Yeah, for sure. He knows I always have his back. I
Yeah.
joke. He's like, I know Gil would beat somebody up for me if he had to, and I'm like, hey man, it's just um, I'm always that like a authority figure if I need to. I'm easygoing, wear my heart on my sleeve, but if I gotta put you in your place, especially when I know you're wrong, it's just
Yeah.
like, hey,
It's
that's
part of
that's
the job.
that's not true at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But damn, brother, we're past an hour now, man. If anybody, I know most of you are technicians. If any of you have any questions real fast related to this, we'll go ahead and wait a second. If you want to put them in all caps, I'd be more than happy to ask Tim your question. Before we start closing out, Tim, if anybody needed to reach out to you, how could they get in touch with you, my man?
Yeah, so I have my website, construction.accountant. Construction.accountant. It's real easy. And I'm on Instagram and Facebook. I actively go in, check the messages and those type of things. LinkedIn is also another good place to find me. I don't post on my Facebook. I have a guy that posts for me, but I do check into the messages and kind of chime in that way.
All right, what I had your thing popped up, but it's behind the screen or something. I don't know. Anyway, I will make sure that all of Tim's links will be in the show notes. So if you guys need to get a hold of him, all that stuff will be added in there, especially the audio one, so that you can get in touch with him. I don't see any questions coming through. So, Tim, man, I want to thank you so much for coming on, man. I really had a good, enjoyed sitting here talking with you, talking about business, covering some, I think some really good topics that are they're going to resonate with people who have been there, done that. And they're also going to resonate with people that now maybe they understand, like, oh man, I didn't realize it was like that. Or
Yeah.
maybe I don't want to start a business anymore, or
Yeah.
I need to prepare. So I think just creates some, it gets the mind turning and gets some good conversations going. So I appreciate you for that. And thank you so much for taking the time to come on with me, man.
No problem, man. It was my pleasure. I'm glad I was able to deliver, and I had a good time, man. I love doing this. This is where my heart is, educating.
That's awesome, man. Well, hey, you have the email and stuff like that. If something ever happens and you want to come back on, or something changes, or you see something, reach out to me, man. You're more than welcome to come back on with me.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much, Gil. I appreciate that.
Yep. You're welcome, my man. If you want to hang tight, I'm going to go ahead and close this thing out.
Okay.
Oh, man. Guys, I hope that you got something from this. Like I said, moving on, we'll get back to some more, turning wrenches and that kind of stuff. But there were some guests that I could get these last couple of weeks that I knew they were going to be great conversations, Tim included. And I'm so glad that I did these shows. And starting with, Ian, the HR guy, last week with Jeff, with the trade jobs, and now Tim, like just covering some of these different things, it just makes you think. And I think that everybody can get some from this, whether you plan on owning a company, or you're always going to work for somebody. It can change your mindset to help you, just understand things more, and maybe realize a certain situation's going on, and you're like, man, well, maybe it's not because the guy's a dick and just doesn't want to give me money. Like, it's been kind of slow. Business hasn't been great. Like, I've been getting off early. Like, oh shit, well, that makes sense. Maybe that's why I'm not getting the raise. It's not because he's just being an asshole. You know what I mean? It just makes you, give you a big picture and make you think about things in a different way. So I hope that's what some of you take from this. And to anybody listening to this, that you do want to start your own company, please don't take these as horror stories and scare you. That is not the point. This is to educate you. To all we're saying is, put a plan in place. You know what I mean? Set some goals, get everything on paper, have your vision, what you're going to do, and don't just wing it. That's what we're saying. All right? Thank you to my moderators for being here. I didn't say what's up to everybody. So, Rookie, thank you, buddy. I appreciate you. You know that. Mr. Jason Johnson for being here. Reliable. What is up, my man? Obviously, we had Mr. BPHC. Hello, hello. East Coast. What is up, buddy? Tom Soka for being here. I haven't seen you in here before, man. So thank you so much for coming and checking out the show. I really appreciate that. Cannon. What is up, Cannon? Ain't seen Cannon in a while. Chris Miller. Let's see. Should I miss anybody? I know Zeke was here earlier. Thank you for coming, Zeke. Yeah, anybody who was in here, thank you guys. I really, really appreciate it. But I'm going to go ahead and close this out. Remember to follow me on all the social media sites. Really, really appreciate if you do that. Give the podcast a review wherever you get your audio podcast. Helps me get out to more and more people. And guys, remember, be safe out there. All right. I say this all the time, man. We live in a crazy world. Make it home the same way you left. All right. Don't just say that guy turned the breaker off. Double check it. Be careful when you drive. Put your phone down. Don't be texting and driving. I want you to make it home safe to your family. And I don't ever want to hear in these Facebook groups or, hey, did you hear so-and-so didn't make it or something like that. So be safe. Hey, you got to win that veto bag, man. It's sitting back there. Do the little things. Set yourself apart from the next guy or girl. All right? Keep trying to be better. Don't get stuck in this rut of complacency, all right? It's not going to get you anywhere. Keep growing, keep getting better at what you do, at the same time giving back to the next generation so that we can all elevate this industry that we know and love. All right? With that being said, man, I love you, mofos, and until next week, I'll talk at you later, all right? Peace. Be the best version of you. Goddamn right.
Thanks for listening to the HVAC Uncensored Podcast. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Instagram, or email us anytime at hvacuncensored@gmail.com. Now, get back to work. Shut this down. The views and opinions shared on the HVAC Uncensored Podcast may not necessarily be the views and opinions of our sponsor.